before the show starts.
Yeah.
And I'm very glad you're able to make it. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for being my guests. I'm here with Mikka Bonel.
That's it.
And Dan Korth.
Correct.
Who are producing and directing, primarily. Directing Caligari. Is it Dr. Caligari?
Just Caligari.
Just Caligari. And so tell me more about the show. I think actually what we should do before we do that, though, because the audience hasn't joined us yet. This is still in pre-show.
Right.
And I may not even use this now. We'll see.
Well, it's a good practice round, right?
It's excellent practice. I mean, the camera's on the wrong person. But okay, it's a good practice, exactly. So, as I said, thank you very much for coming down. And this is all part of the warm-up for the production, and I can see you're like hanging on every word I'm saying. This is quite charming. Okay, so on the left we have Mikka, on the right we have Dan. How long have you guys been working on this project?
Well, I started writing it 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
There was a workshop production done about 2 years ago at San Francisco State, and then for this particular production, last summer.
February? Or?
Well, we started talking about it and working
yeah.
it August, I think it was,
yeah.
of 2009.
So just over
just
over a year.
Yeah.
That's pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Have you actually done any? Have you had run previews, or is this? Your first night is the 18th, which is a couple of days away.
Yeah.
2
Thursday.
days away.
It's Thursday.
Just this Thursday. How exciting!
Yeah, very exciting.
That's brilliant. So have you? I mean, you said you did like cues. You've been blocking the show. You've got a fabulous space that we'll talk about when we actually go live in just over 2 minutes, or just under 2 minutes, actually.
Very exciting.
Yes, very exciting. Yes, that's right. And then we'll be like, all of San Francisco will be there, tuned into us.
It'll be amazing. Yes.
It will.
Yeah.
It will.
No autographs.
No, that's right. I understand there will be a crowd outside as we wait.
Yes. I can hear them screaming now.
I can too, actually,
Yeah.
if you listen really hard. Yeah. And you at home, if you listen really hard, you can hear them screaming as well. Yes.
We have a moment of... Well, they're kind of quiet right now.
They are.
I think.
They
yeah.
are. Well, you
Yeah.
see, they're watching the pre-taped thing outside, so...
and lighting the candles.
Lighting
so
the candles. It's almost like a ritual. It's a very serious thing.
Yeah.
Are there any comedic elements to this show?
Yes. I think we have to. It's because it's such a dramatic show, and when the film is melodrama, which doesn't read as well in live theater, so we have to embrace the comedy.
Especially
and
nowadays,
bring it up.
too. Yeah.
I think you actually raised a very good point. I mean, when I was watching the clips, I mean, I have not seen the show. I'm a complete Philistine, I have to tell you.
It's okay. A lot of people either go, "Oh my God," or
I love it.
Huh?
Yeah. So when I was watching it, I mean, I noticed with something like a black and white silent film, you can suspend your disbelief. The enhanced perspective of the sets and all that sort of stuff is fascinating to watch. And we have 15 seconds to go before the live show goes.
Okay.
So I suppose we should do up our
Get
ties
serious.
and get serious. And, yes.
Clear our throats.
Yes.
Vocal warm-ups.
Right, 5, 4, 3, and we are about to go live. Hello, welcome to the program. My name is Stephen Leader. I have with me in the studio, I have Mikka Bonel and Dan Korth, who are responsible for directing an incredible new production based on the silent movie The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. This film, this is a stage play, is that correct?
Yes.
And it is called, what is it called? It's called Caligari.
Caligari.
Okay. Tell us more about it, please. I mean, what is this about, and how? It's a classic film. Tell us about the classic film and what you hope to achieve with the play. Is that
sure?
Yeah.
Well,
you can toss a coin as to who goes
right,
first.
Yeah.
Please.
We'll go back and forth. I'll jump in.
Just jump in. Okay.
I'll jump in now.
Okay.
Well, there's the basic storyline, which is basically a murder mystery. And there's our hero Francis goes to a carnival, and he sees an act, and the act is Caligari and him revealing his somnambulist act, which is with Cesare, who can tell your future.
What's a somnambulist?
A hypnotist, essentially, sleepwalker act.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so Francis becomes obsessed with Caligari, and in the meantime, just as Caligari has moved into town, all of a sudden these murders are starting to take place. And so it's the unraveling of Francis trying to figure out what's going on, who are the murderers, and who is the murderer. And at the same time, his obsession for Caligari himself starts to grow, and so he starts to question his own sanity. And his own mind, just as a somnambulist who can take over your mind. It's almost as if that same thing is happening to him, to Francis as well. It's also a love story as well. There's Jane, who is the romantic ingenue, and she's not as...
Or bitter fluff, as we like to say in the trade.
Exactly.
Okay. Sorry, don't read it.
No,
it's
accurate.
It's great, because we took that concept even further, of that sort of Cupid doll kind of...
Really?
The icon of a romantic... Yeah, ingenue, the lead.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like the basic premise of the piece, if you had to have a linear story. And of course it's expressionism, so it's not linear whatsoever. But
what exactly is expressionism? It's
instead of showing a story as it is in real life, naturalism or realism, it heightens the emotions and the feelings that you experience for it. So rather than showing someone who's like angry and showing the situation that gets them angry as it actually happened, it would highlight the certain events and make them bigger, larger than life, and exaggerate the features and the lights and everything to show just how strong that emotion is.
So is this sort of similar to a concept like in the Hollywood film noir thing?
Oh, yeah. Noir actually stemmed from expressionism, and we're using noir elements and expressionism elements, and actually even naturalism elements in our production.
Yeah.
The naturalism that we're using is to make it more accessible to the audience and relatable, and it also highlights the expressionism even more.
I thought what we would do is we would run a clip based on that I found on YouTube actually, based on the original silent movie. And if you like, we could talk about it and maybe highlight some of the examples of expressionism for the people at home.
Sure.
And so we can get a sense, because I know it's a very surreal element. And I did watch a 1980s sequel to Caligari that half of it. I had a hard time relating to it because it was in colour for a start, and therefore the sets looked just cheesy. Whereas
Absolutely,
and I noticed also with the original, just these clips I'm seeing on YouTube, that there is an element of, because it's in black and white, because it's jerky, that it sort of involves you more. You can relate to the surreality. Is that the correct word? Of the clips as well. So I want to play the clip, and so maybe we can talk about that and find out how it works in a live theatrical situation.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go ahead and do that.
It's interesting too that you say about being able to relate to it, because a lot of times that's because the point of view also has to do with expressionism too.
Yes.
So here we are looking at that's the Dr. Caligari.
Right.
Okay, and
this is him coming to the carnival.
Right. A lot of the clips, close-ups, I see they're using lighting effects here. That's the young ingenue, I take it.
That's Jane.
That's Jane. Okay.
What's also interesting, a lot of the lighting effects you see are actually painted on the set. They don't use lights in the typical way. It was actually mainly used because of money reasons, and they've adapted and made it their own. So it's forced perspective is really what it is, making you look in certain ways that are unnatural, or you wouldn't naturally do it.
So you can see, like for example, the curtain earlier was at a slant.
Yes.
It wasn't straight on.
Right, like it is now.
Yeah,
with,
right.
Exactly.
Yes.
And it helps create this uneasy feeling it's like something's not right.
Nothing is straight.
Right.
Basically.
Exactly.
Everything's at an angle. Caligari.
Caligari.
Caligari. Okay. And here we are again. There is the way that the lighting is such that you're highlighting various parts of the scene.
Right.
Which I find rather a lot of darkness involved.
Yes.
Yes.
And shadow play as well is
Again,
huge.
Non-straight, or they're straight, but they're non-perpendicular lines. Everything's at an angle.
Right.
Yes. And
And you can see here too, with the sets as well, and being in these sort of enclosed and bizarre shapes. That's very much expressionism.
So let's go. What exactly is the plot of Dr. Caligari? So you talked about it. There is a carnival involved, right?
Yeah.
In the situation. How? So he appears in the carnival.
Yeah, and to be honest, there's not a huge amount more to the plot than what I was saying earlier of, Francis coming to this carnival, watching Caligari and becoming more and more interested in him.
Right.
What's interesting about this piece, because we keep on thinking about the storyline, and it's actually a relatively simple plot, but even more so what it's about is it's about Francis's identity, and also, in a way, all of, human's identity and how that can break down, and what is your line between sanity and when you break down and cross over to the other side of insanity.
I see, and that's what this show actually involves.
Yeah.
Talk about some of the technical issues you have with the lighting and things like that. How did you handle the lights? Because the lights, as you mentioned, the lighting is really important in the preview. In the silent movie.
So we're not using any traditional theater lighting in that, those big instruments you would see up above your heads. All our lighting is done what we call practical lighting, lighting you see in everyday life, from book lights and flashlights to
fluorescence and little LED lights. We also have, for example, one of the scenes is an interrogation scene, and so it's all about our red herring. There's a red herring in the piece, and so at one point we think it might be a different culprit, and so he gets thrown into a chamber, and we wanted to have the idea of it just being about his face. So the interrogators actually have mining lights on their heads. And one of them has red, and one of them has an LED white, which is going to kind of create like a cool blue. And so when they're talking to the guy, they're actually lighting him at the same time. So what that does is it creates that isolated look that the film does as well.
That seems to be, we were talking earlier on, that seems to be the iconic part of the film, is the close-ups with the faces, and you emphasize that. I mean, I want to go see this film. I mean,